Daniel Kang stood in his corner office, watching the city lights flicker below like dying stars. The screens around him displayed nothing but error messages, red warnings spreading like infection through his company's entire network. 12 hours ago, his tech empire had been worth $3 billion. Now it existed only in scattered fragments, held hostage by faceless criminals who demanded an impossible ransom. His security team surrounded the conference table, their expensive suits unable to hide their helplessness. The hackers had infiltrated through ghost protocols, erasing recovery systems and backup servers simultaneously. They had studied his infrastructure for months, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Daniel's assistant entered quietly, her tablet showing another failed restoration attempt. The FBI had been contacted, but everyone knew the truth. By the time they traced the digital breadcrumbs, the company would be worthless. Investors were already pulling out, sensing blood in the water. He dismissed everyone, needing silence to think. The ransom note mocked him from his personal screen, written in fragmented code that shifted every few minutes. His team of MIT graduates and former government cryptologists had spent hours trying to decode the pattern, finding only deliberate dead ends. The night stretched endlessly ahead. Daniel made coffee in his private kitchen, a luxury that now felt absurd. Through the window, he noticed the small diner across the street, still glowing warmly at 2 in the morning. He had passed it 1,000 times without really seeing it. Something pulled him toward the door. Perhaps desperation, perhaps exhaustion. He grabbed his coat, leaving behind the failing computers and silent phones. The cool night air hit his face as he crossed the empty street, drawn toward the simple promise of light in darkness. The diner smelled like coffee and vanilla, a stark contrast to the sterile panic of his office. Only 2 customers remained, an elderly man reading a newspaper and a young woman sitting alone in a corner booth. The waitress looked up from her book as the door chimed, genuine surprise crossing her delicate features. Mia had worked the overnight shift at Sunset Diner for 3 years. She knew every regular, every peculiar order, every pattern in the slow hours between midnight and dawn. But she had never seen this man before. Expensive coat, exhausted eyes, the kind of weariness that came from carrying impossible weight. She approached with a gentle smile, her movements quiet and unassuming. He requested coffee, black, and she noticed his hands trembling slightly as he wrapped them around the warm cup. Most people who stumbled in at this hour wanted to talk or wanted to disappear. He seemed caught between both desires. Mia returned to her corner booth, where a crossword puzzle lay half-completed. Numbers and letters filled the margins in neat patterns, her private game during the empty hours. She had always seen connections others missed, finding comfort in the logic of puzzles while the world remained chaotic. Daniel watched her work, distracted from his catastrophe. Her pen moved with certainty, filling spaces that seemed random yet somehow correct. She would pause, study the surrounding answers, then complete entire sections in sudden bursts of understanding. The elderly customer paid and left, leaving only silence between them. Mia felt his eyes on her puzzle, but did not mind. Something in his expression reminded her of the broken problems she loved most, the ones that seemed impossible until you found the hidden pattern. She stood to refill his coffee, catching sight of numbers she recognized on his phone screen before he dimmed it. Her heart quickened with unexpected recognition. "That's a Fibonacci spiral variant," Mia said softly, the words escaping before caution could stop them. She immediately regretted speaking, expecting him to dismiss her or worse, become defensive about whatever private matter filled his screen. Daniel's head snapped up, studying her with sudden intensity. "What did you say?" She gestured shyly toward his phone. "The sequence in your message, it follows a modified Fibonacci pattern, but someone inverted the golden ratio intervals. I've seen similar puzzles in competitive cryptography forums. He stared at her as if she had spoken an alien language. This quiet waitress with ink-stained fingers and a gentle smile had identified in seconds what his entire team had missed for hours. He unlocked his phone fully, showing her the ransom note. Mia's eyes widened as she read the shifting text. Her mind automatically began sorting the characters, seeing beyond the apparent chaos to the underlying structure. They're using a polyalphabetic substitution, but the key changes based on prime number intervals. That's why it keeps shifting. Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Can you decode it? She hesitated, her natural shyness warring with the intellectual challenge pulling at her. I would need time and paper, lots of paper. Within minutes, she had transformed her corner booth into a makeshift war room. Napkins filled with numbers, placemats covered in letter grids, sugar packets arranged in mathematical sequences. Daniel watched in fascination as she worked with quiet concentration, her pen flying across surfaces in patterns that seemed random yet purposeful. The night deepened around them. Mia's usual nervousness faded when faced with problems, replaced by calm certainty. She explained her process in soft whispers, teaching him to see the hidden language within the chaos. For the first time in 12 hours, Daniel breathed steadily. Dawn approached as Mia filled her 7th placemat with calculations. The diner remained empty except for them, existing in a bubble outside normal time. Daniel had long since abandoned any pretense of distance, sitting across from her and following her rapid explanations. The hackers embedded 3 separate codes, she explained, her voice stronger now with confidence. The first layer is misdirection, complex but ultimately meaningless. The second contains the actual ransom demands. But the third... She paused, excitement flickering across her features. What about the third? Daniel leaned forward. The third layer is a test. They're showing off, proving their intelligence, but arrogance creates patterns, and patterns can be broken. Her pen circled a sequence of numbers she had isolated. They referenced a famous unsolved puzzle from an underground hacking forum. I've seen it before. Daniel's phone buzzed, his security team reporting another failed attempt. He silenced it, unwilling to break the strange magic happening in this corner booth. Mia had accomplished more in 2 hours than his expensive experts had managed all night. She worked through the final calculations, cross-referencing her crossword-solving techniques with cryptographic principles. The connections seemed absurd, yet somehow perfectly logical. Both required seeing beyond surface confusion to underlying truth. There, she whispered finally, sliding a napkin toward him. That's the master key. It won't stop them completely, but it will give your team access to rebuild your security protocols and trace their entry point. Daniel stared at the elegant solution, so simple once revealed. He pulled out his laptop, inputting her sequence. The screens flickered, then stabilized. Recovery programs activated. His phone exploded with messages from his team, shocked at the sudden breakthrough. He looked up at Mia, truly seeing her for the first time, not just a shy waitress, but someone extraordinary, hidden in plain sight. How did you learn this? Daniel asked as his team worked frantically through the phone, their voices bright with renewed hope. The sun now painted the diner in soft gold, transforming the ordinary space into something almost magical. Mia's shyness returned now that the intellectual challenge had passed. I studied mathematics in college before my parents died. Had to leave school to work, but I never stopped solving puzzles. It's like meditation for me, finding order in chaos. Her story emerged in quiet fragments. The scholarship she had lost, the hospital bills that consumed her savings, the younger brother she supported while he finished high school. She worked 3 jobs, sleeping in scattered hours, filling empty moments with crosswords and logic problems that kept her mind sharp. Daniel felt humbled. While he had built his empire through privilege and connections, she had cultivated genius in stolen moments between shifts. You could have demanded money for this solution, named any price. She smiled softly. That's not why I helped. I saw a puzzle that needed solving. Everything else seemed irrelevant. His company was stabilizing by the minute. The hackers' access was being systematically eliminated, their trail becoming visible. The FBI would have everything they needed to pursue prosecution. His $3 billion empire was breathing again, saved by a waitress with a gift for patterns. "Work for me," Daniel said suddenly. "Head of security. Choose your salary." Mia laughed, the sound gentle and disbelieving. "I don't have a degree anymore, no credentials. I'm just someone who likes puzzles." "You have something better than credentials. You see what others miss." His intensity made her uncomfortable, but also stirred something dormant, the memory of who she had dreamed of becoming before life had intervened. The morning shift waitress arrived, and Mia realized with shock that she had worked through her entire shift without noticing. Reality pressed back in. Her other jobs, her responsibilities, her small, safe life. For 3 days, Mia tried to forget the impossible offer. She returned to her routine: morning shift at the diner, afternoon cleaning offices, evening tutoring students in mathematics. Her brother James noticed her distraction, commenting on the faraway look in her eyes. But Daniel Kang's business card remained in her pocket, growing soft from constant handling. She researched his company late at night, reading about the spectacular recovery that analysts were calling miraculous. No one knew about her involvement. Daniel had kept that secret. On the 4th day, he appeared at the diner again during her shift, this time during lunch rush when she was too busy to hide behind quiet corners. He sat at the counter, ordering simple food and waiting patiently until her break. "You didn't call," he said when she finally sat beside him, exhausted from racing between tables. "I can't accept," Mia replied. "It's a generous fantasy, but I have responsibilities, bills. My brother's college tuition. I need reliable income, not experiments." Daniel pulled out a folder. "This is your employment contract. Starting salary, benefits, stock options, everything guaranteed in writing. I've also arranged for your brother's full scholarship to any university he chooses. Separate from your employment, no strings attached." She stared at the papers, unable to process the numbers. It was more money than she had imagined earning in a lifetime. "Why? You barely know me. I know you saved my company. I know you're wasted here, brilliant and unseen. I know I need people who think differently, who see patterns others miss. That's worth more than any degree." His eyes held steady conviction. Mia's hands trembled as she held the contract. Part of her wanted to run from this terrifying gift, but a deeper part, the girl who had once loved mathematics with pure joy, whispered that some chances came only once. "1-month trial," she said finally. "If I fail, I return here with no hard feelings." Daniel's smile transformed his serious features. "You won't fail." The first day at Kang Technologies, Mia felt like an imposter in borrowed confidence. Her simple dress stood out among designer suits, her bargain shoes clicking differently on marble floors. Daniel's assistant guided her to a private office with her name already on the door. Chief Pattern Recognition Officer, a title created specifically for her unique skills. Her team consisted of 5 senior analysts, all with impressive credentials and visible skepticism. They had heard rumors about the mysterious consultant who broke the hacker code, but seeing a young woman with no listed degree disappointed them visibly. Daniel addressed them briefly. "Mia sees what computers miss. Your job is to help her access data and implement her insights. Questions about qualifications end now." He left her alone with 5 pairs of doubting eyes. Mia's old shyness threatened to overwhelm her, but then she noticed the security analysis displayed on the central screen, a tangle of network traffic that everyone was treating as random noise. "There's a pattern," she said softly, stepping closer. "May I?" The team exchanged glances, but allowed her access. Mia's fingers flew across the keyboard, isolating data streams and arranging them visually. What appeared as chaos began revealing structure, a subtle rhythm in the access times, a geographic clustering that indicated coordinated surveillance. "Someone's still watching," she announced. "Not the original hackers. Someone new. They're being careful, but there's always a pattern." Her team leaned in, seeing what she revealed. One analyst, Dr. Sarah Chen, smiled with grudging respect. "That's actually brilliant. We've been looking at content, not timing." The ice broke gradually. Mia's gentle demeanor and obvious skill made her difficult to resent. She asked questions instead of giving orders, taught rather than commanded. By end of day, even the most skeptical analyst was listening attentively when she spoke. Daniel watched from his office as she worked, noticing how she transformed the sterile security center into something alive. 3 weeks into her new role, Mia had revolutionized the company's security approach. Her pattern recognition techniques had identified vulnerabilities that traditional methods missed entirely. But more than that, she had become unexpectedly central to the office culture. Her gentle presence somehow making the high-pressure environment more human. Daniel found himself seeking her input on matters beyond security. Her unique perspective applied to everything from market analysis to employee behavior patterns. She saw connections others missed, asking questions that seemed simple but revealed deep complexity. They began having coffee together each morning, ostensibly to discuss security updates. But conversations drifted into personal territory. Her brother's college acceptance letters, his late wife who had died 3 years earlier from cancer, the loneliness that success had created around him. "You built walls," Mia observed one morning, her directness surprising them both. "After she died. Walls that look like ambition but are actually protection." Daniel set down his cup, struck by her accuracy. "How do you see that?" "Patterns. You schedule meetings during times when normal people connect socially. You've automated responses to anything personal. Your office has no photographs, no decorations, nothing that reveals you." She spoke without judgment, simply stating observations. He felt exposed, yet oddly relieved. "And you? What patterns define you?" Mia smiled sadly. "Invisibility. I learned to fade into backgrounds, to not take up space. Survival skill from childhood poverty. But sometimes invisible people see everything because no one thinks to hide from them." The vulnerability between them shifted something fundamental. Daniel reached across the desk, his hand covering hers briefly. "You're not invisible to me." The moment broke when his assistant knocked, reminding him of a board meeting. But the connection remained, humming quietly in the space between professional and personal. Mia returned to her office, her heart racing with feelings she had not allowed herself in years. The company's annual gala arrived, a glittering event Mia had hoped to avoid. But Daniel insisted, reminding her that the chief pattern recognition officer needed to meet investors and board members. She borrowed a dress from Sarah Chen, practiced walking in heels, and felt her old anxieties returning. Daniel picked her up personally, an unexpected gesture that made her breath catch. He wore a classic black suit that transformed him from CEO to something from a romantic film. His eyes widened when he saw her, the borrowed dress revealing elegance she usually hid behind practical clothes. "You look beautiful," he said simply, the words carrying weight beyond politeness. The ballroom overwhelmed her with its crystalline opulence. Hundreds of powerful people mingled beneath chandeliers, their confident laughter filling spaces that made Mia feel small. But Daniel stayed close, his hand resting lightly on her back, anchor and shield. He introduced her proudly, watching skeptical expressions transform when she spoke. Her insights about market patterns and security trends impressed even the most dismissive board members. She explained complex ideas in simple language, her gentle manner disarming rather than threatening. But the triumph of the evening came when an investor's wife pulled Mia aside. "My company has been losing data inexplicably. Nothing dramatic, just slow leaks we can't trace. Everyone says it's impossible to find." Mia listened to the details, her mind automatically sorting patterns. It's not a leak. Someone's creating false data to bury the real information, then siphoning during system backups. Check your archive logs for access spikes during automated processes. The woman's eyes widened. "That's specific. Patterns," Mia said simply. "They're always there if you know how to look." Later, Daniel led her onto the terrace where cool air offered relief from the crowded ballroom. The city sparkled below them, and for the first time, Mia felt like she belonged in this world. "Thank you for this," Mia said softly, leaning against the terrace railing. "Not just tonight, for seeing something in me when I had stopped seeing it in myself." Daniel moved closer, drawn by her honesty. "You saved my company. You changed how we think about problems. That's not something to thank me for. You earned every moment of this." She turned to face him, and the distance between them felt charged with unspoken possibility. "But you took a chance. You could have just paid me a consultation fee and moved on. Instead, you offered me a life I thought I'd lost forever." The vulnerability in her voice undid something protective in Daniel. "I was half dead before that night in the diner. Building bigger, achieving more, feeling nothing. Then you appeared, brilliant and kind, and utterly unimpressed by wealth or power. You reminded me that people still surprise you if you pay attention." His hand lifted to her face, fingers gentle against her cheek. Mia's breath caught, years of loneliness and careful distance suddenly feeling unbearable. When he kissed her, soft and questioning, she responded with unexpected certainty. The kiss deepened, carrying all the connection they had been building through morning coffees and late-night problem-solving sessions. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing unsteadily. "This is complicated," Mia whispered. "You're my boss. There are power dynamics. People will talk. Then I'll promote you to partner. Equal status, no reporting structure." Daniel's response was immediate, fierce. "I don't care what people say. I care that you're the first person in 3 years who makes me want tomorrow." Mia laughed, the sound soft and disbelieving. "You're serious?" "Completely. We'll navigate the complications together, unless you don't want this." She answered by kissing him again, certainty replacing fear. They remained on the terrace long after the gala ended, talking and touching like people remembering how to be alive. The following weeks transformed their relationship from secret glances to acknowledged partnership. Daniel announced Mia's promotion to partner, handling board skepticism with quiet firmness. Her office moved next to his, their collaboration becoming the company's strategic center. But success attracted attention. A tech magazine published a profile about the mysterious pattern recognition genius who had saved Kang Technologies. The article praised Mia's unconventional background, framing her story as inspirational. Overnight, she became the face of second-chance narratives. The publicity brought unexpected consequences. Her old college reached out, offering to reinstate her scholarship and award her degree based on demonstrated expertise. Other companies tried to recruit her with astronomical offers. Most surprisingly, intelligence agencies contacted Daniel, requesting consultations with Mia on national security pattern analysis. She felt overwhelmed by sudden visibility. The quiet life she had built felt safer than this exposed prominence. I liked being invisible, she confessed to Daniel one evening in his apartment, where they had fallen into the habit of cooking dinner together. He wrapped his arms around her from behind as she chopped vegetables. You were never invisible. Just unseen. There's a difference. And now people see what I saw. Someone extraordinary. But what if I fail? What if this was luck, and eventually everyone realizes I'm just a waitress who got fortunate? Her old insecurities surfaced in quiet moments. Daniel turned her gently to face him. You've decoded 17 security threats since joining. You've identified market patterns that saved us millions. You've taught my entire team to think differently. That's not luck, that's genius meeting opportunity. She leaned into his chest, letting his certainty steady her. Outside the window, the city glowed with evening light. Somewhere across town, James was studying at university, his future secure. Her small apartment sat empty, preserved, but no longer necessary. Life had transformed so completely, it sometimes felt like someone else's dream. I love you, Daniel said quietly, the words careful but certain. Not because you saved my company. Because you make everything more real, sharper, worth paying attention to. Mia pulled back to look at him, seeing past the successful CEO to the lonely man she had first met in a diner. I love you too. It terrifies me, but I do. They sealed the confession with a kiss that promised permanence despite uncertainty. 6 months into their relationship, new challenges emerged. A competitor launched aggressive attacks on Kang Technologies, exploiting a vulnerability that Mia should have caught. The breach was minor, quickly contained, but it shook her confidence severely. I missed it, she said flatly during the emergency meeting. The pattern was there, and I didn't see it. This is my failure. Her team rushed to reassure her, but Mia's perfectionism allowed no comfort. She worked 70-hour weeks trying to find what else she might have missed, barely sleeping, pushing Daniel away when he tried to help. You're human, he said one night, finding her still at her desk at 3 a.m. Humans make mistakes. One missed pattern doesn't erase everything else. But people trust me now. You trust me. I can't afford to fail. Her voice cracked with exhaustion and fear. Maybe I'm not good enough for this after all. Daniel pulled her to her feet, holding her despite her resistance. Listen to me. You've revolutionized this company. One mistake doesn't change that. But if you destroy yourself trying to be perfect, I lose you. And that's worse than any security breach. His words broke through her spiral. Mia collapsed into him, crying with a depth that released months of accumulated pressure. The fear of losing everything, of proving right those who doubted her, of failing Daniel, it all poured out. He held her through it, patient and steady. When the storm passed, he took her home, tucked her into bed, and stayed beside her while she slept 14 hours straight. She woke to find him reading beside her, sunlight streaming through windows. What time is it? Saturday afternoon. I cancelled everything. Today we rest. They spent the weekend deliberately away from work, cooking, watching movies, taking long walks through the city. Mia remembered who she was beyond her job, beyond her fears. By Monday, she returned balanced, accepting that excellence didn't require perfection. The company's second anniversary of its recovery approached, and Daniel planned a private celebration, just him and Mia, away from publicity and pressure. He rented a cabin in the mountains, promising her a weekend of quiet and peace. They arrived at sunset, the cabin nestled among pine trees with a view of distant peaks. Mia stepped onto the porch, breathing deeply of clean air that smelled nothing like the city. This is perfect. Daniel came up behind her, nervous in a way she rarely saw. I wanted somewhere meaningful, away from everything else. They made dinner together, falling into comfortable patterns, developed over months of shared domesticity. But Daniel seemed distracted, his usual certainty replaced by unusual hesitation. Mia noticed but allowed him his process, trusting he would speak when ready. After dinner, they sat on the porch under emerging stars. The silence felt full rather than empty, holding years of connection and understanding. Finally, Daniel took her hand, his fingers trembling slightly. "Before I met you, I was successful and miserable. I had everything and nothing. Then you appeared in that diner, solving impossible problems and seeing patterns no one else could see. You saved my company, but more than that, you saved me." Mia's heart began racing, recognizing the weight in his words. "You taught me that genius comes in unexpected forms, that kindness and brilliance can coexist, that love finds you when you stop hiding." He slid from his chair to one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Mia, you're my pattern in the chaos, my solution to every impossible question. Will you marry me?" The ring caught starlight, simple and perfect. Mia looked at this man who had seen her when she was invisible, who had offered her a future when she had only survival. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, standing to kiss her with joyful relief. 1 year later, Mia stood in the same diner where everything had begun. The space looked unchanged. Same worn booths, same coffee smell, same gentle lighting. But she had transformed completely. The diner was hosting a celebration for her brother James's college graduation. He sat surrounded by friends, his laughter bright and unworried, the future she had fought to give him now blossoming into reality. Her old co-workers were there, genuinely happy for her success. Daniel arrived carrying champagne, greeting everyone with the easy warmth he had learned from watching Mia. He had changed too, his former isolation replaced by genuine connection. They had married quietly 3 months earlier, preferring intimacy over spectacle. The owner approached Mia, pressing an envelope into her hands. "Your last paycheck. I kept forgetting to send it." Mia opened it, surprised to find not just her small wages, but a letter. The owner had written about watching her solve crosswords during slow shifts, about knowing she was destined for something bigger, about being proud to have employed someone so remarkable. Tears stung her eyes. This place represented struggle and limitation, but also the person she had been, determined, brilliant, waiting. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving me somewhere to land when I was falling." Later, she and Daniel stood outside, looking at the diner's glowing windows. "Do you ever miss it?" he asked. "The simplicity?" Mia considered, then shook her head. "I miss who I was learning to become, but I don't miss the fear or the exhaustion or the invisibility. You gave me space to be fully myself." "We gave that to each other," Daniel corrected gently. They walked away hand in hand, leaving behind the diner but carrying forward everything it represented: resilience, hidden potential, unexpected connections. Somewhere in the city, new patterns waited to be discovered. But for now, they had found the most important pattern of all. 2 people recognizing in each other exactly what was needed. The crossword puzzle Mia had left on her old booth remained, completed perfectly. The final answer, spanning the center, spelled out a truth she had learned. Everything connects,